You're listening to the Frugal Crafter podcast.
I'm Lindsay Weirich, and today we have legendary artist,
Oh.
writer, teacher, and art supply designer Jane Davenport on the show. Jane, welcome to the podcast.
That's so nice to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you said yes because I've been looking forward to this all week.
Oh, it's cool. How amazing that we can be so far apart. I'm in Australia. It's the very beginning of my day. You're over there you're in New York State, right?
I'm in Maine, but same
Oh.
time zone.
Yeah, so the other side of the world. And we can just chit chat like we're in the same room. It's cool.
It's incredible. When I think of Jane Davenport, I think fashion, travel, beauty, and whimsy. How would you describe your art and influences?
Well, I quite like that description, actually. I think I'll stick with your description. So I would say my biggest influence is colour, definitely. I come from a fashion background, and it was a very, my life has always had that really big influence of colour. And in no matter what, I've always been in creative endeavours. So I think colour itself as an entity, as a force, is my biggest influence. When I was at school and, the school guidance counsellor asked me what did I want to do, and I said zookeeper, and she said, well, you're not smart enough to be a veterinarian, so you can't do that. I was like, okay. Well, how about a colour namer? I'll name colours. And she said, that's not a job. And, well, it is. It actually is.
You showed her.
I showed her. So I've always just loved stationery. I love design. And because stationery is small, there's so many challenges in doing art supplies and stationery. So I've always been attracted to it. And I used to collect erasers as a kid. I have a huge collection of erasers. And it's just so funny that all of those passions that I had for drawing, for the actual tools themselves, or the colour, it's all what I do every day. So, and it still brings me so much joy. So, I think colour is the big influence. But I'll take the other things you said
created.
too.
Oh, well, you created a perfect life for yourself then. You've got color all around you.
Exactly. So, I'm looking at my art supplies in front of me, and they make me happy. They just make me happy.
Yeah, I can relate. Why do you think your artwork resonates with so many people?
I think there's something about it that makes people think, oh, I would like to try that. I would like to do that. It's not so perfect or elevated that you think, wow, that's talent right there. It's more, I could never do that. There's something about what I do that makes people feel like they like to enter that world. And I think, again, it's the colour. It's the freedom of maybe the way that I use colour, which is with complete abandon. And because I just think all colours go together. There are more delicious combinations, and that's very personal. But I think it's that colour is a doorway. My work stays loose. You can see my mistakes in it and where I've changed my mind. And I love seeing that in other artists' works. I also love seeing perfect artwork. But I think it is that there's an entryway into it where people think, I'd like to try that. Like I've always thought I'd like to draw a face or whatever it is, or I'd like to have that kind of freedom. I used to do that when I was a kid, or I used to do that when I've moved away from it. So I think a part of it is that, but I suppose I'd have to ask, can you tell me what in my artwork resonates with you? Because it's not something I ask people, and I'd like to hear it.
Well, I think it's kind of like when I first saw your work, it just blew me away. I loved it. It was so carefree, and I was in a season of life where I had three kids, all kind of in the middle grades. They were so busy, and I was so busy with them, and I was trying to run a business, and everything felt kind of overwhelming. But then I saw your whimsical women that were just kind of like flitting across the page, living their lives, having the time of their life. And I would look through your work, and it reminded me of flipping through a fashion magazine. And when I was in high school, my best friend and I both ordered the same magazine subscription. It was a fashion magazine for teens called YM. And we would, when it came in the mail, we'd call each other up on the phone and we'd flip through it.
Oh, together.
And
So cute.
that's that feeling, that feeling of kind of like of community. And there's other grown women that are having fun making art, and it just felt like such a nice community. And it was funny because when your product showed up at Michael's, I have a group of crafty girlfriends, and I messaged them. I'm like, guys, Jane Davenport stuff is going to be at Michael's, and we don't have a Michael's in our city. So I was like, it's like an hour and a half away, and I'm like, let's go. It's going to come out on Tuesday. We got to go. It's going to be sold out. And so we all got together, and well, first they were like, who's Jane Davenport? I'm like, you know her. You when you see the work, you will know what I'm talking about. And my best friend was like, I think I've heard of her before, and come to find out she had your Beautiful Faces book like
Ah,
already. And she's like, oh, I just didn't know the name. And so we went down and we like oohed and ahed and touched everything and came home with, it was a 30% off sale, your regular price purchase that day. So I like loaded up, and we had so much fun just driving down there and then looking at the stuff and then talking about what we were going to make. And we all had lunch, and it was just that, it's like the essence, I think, of Jane Davenport is just that carefree friendship, fun, just, it's it's such a hard balance, I would imagine, because you draw these, they're women, they're not children, these beautiful women, they're not sexualized, they're there with friendships, enjoying life,
yes.
beautiful colors, beautiful artwork. And I just think that is what is so refreshing, and that's what resonates with me. And I can't speak for other women, but I think that resonates with me and my friends anyway.
That's that just really hits right home with me, because I am having those conversations when I'm creating art and when I do my live streams and I'm babbling on. They are the stories that are happening, and as soon as you have two people on a page, all eyes are looking off the page, it's telling a story. And or even if they're drawing something and they're looking, I'd like a little bit of side eye, but yeah, I love that. That's how it makes how it makes you feel, because that's exactly how my art is intended, because that's how I feel. These people fall out of my paintbrushes, and they come with a life of their own. So I'm just capturing that moment as they're dancing across the page. And I think, yes, and capturing it, I've got a whole philosophy about keeping things sketchy. So looking like they are, I'm not going for perfection. I never am. I couldn't achieve it, even if I wanted to. Um, but when you keep things in that sketchy zone, it's saying, I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to capture a moment. So the judgment of your own work comes off, and judgment from other people. And I've, I don't have people around that, if I showed my artwork, they'd be rude about it. But a lot of people do. People say things, especially when you're in those tender, earlier stages of your creating. If someone says something, they might not even mean it in a rude way. They think they're being helpful, but it can really set people back. But if you've got your artwork and it stays in that carefree zone, people's brains get that and they don't try and critique you, and you don't try and critique yourself. So you can just stay in that playful nature. Like when you see a kid drawing and you can't even tell what it is. They know what it is, and that's enough. They know it's a cat walking up the staircase to ride a magic rainbow. But the important thing is they know that, and you're a little bit like, they would look at you saying, "You can't tell. Shame on you." I feel, you need to grow your imagination. So I like to try and keep things in that carefree, flitting through the pages zone, and colour helps with that, keeping things loose and carefree. And yes, again, because that's just so much of what I do, I hope that is what resonates. But otherwise, people well, no one would look at my artwork. So I'm very
You
grateful that people like it.
Do you ever get stuck? Because you seem just so free whenever I watch a live stream or see your work online.
Sometimes things happen, and my mum watches my live streams because she's just started with doing art journaling and mixed media and all of that. And she says sometimes I do something, she's like, "Ooh, how are you going to get out of that one?" And that happens all the time. Have you taught art to like humans in a room? Yes.
Mhm.
So things
Yeah.
don't, well, maybe they do for you, but something always goes wrong. Like I was in a workshop once and I knocked ink, beautiful turquoise ink, but it dropped out of the brush where I didn't mean it to. It just was a wardrobe malfunction, and it just these big turquoise streaks across a beautiful skin tone that I'd been building for like 2 days. And
Oh,
I could
no.
hear the collective intake of behind me, and I thought, you can't panic, I can't swear, like you just
Mhm,
have to. I'm trying to embody this, not, I'm trying to not let the wheels come off, and you just think, well, it's just ink on paper, and
mhm,
I'll just lean into it and work with it. And as it turned out, it looked fantastic. Sort of, I made it look a little bit like tears that had dried, and it just became part of the artwork. In fact, I've got it blown up as wall art that I did with a big company, and I've got it. She's staring at me just from over there as a reminder. But yeah, just things. It's great to have that confidence in yourself, and knowing also that this is why I love journals and working in a book. I can just turn the page and just work on something
mhm,
else for a bit. And I've got lots of things going on. It might be a little bit different if you've got a commission painting that you've got a deadline for, and I imagine it might be harder to feel that loose freedom in that situation. But I have engineered my situation so I don't have that kind of thing. I am just playing around, but things happen, and sometimes when I'm doing, especially like in a live stream, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what? Like, how am I going to turn this and make it not be? And some days I just can't draw. There are just some days I can't draw, and I just acknowledge that and keep on going. The drawing ability may return to my body if I keep going, and I can just do well enough. And then when the drawing ability returns, I can perfect things and make it. You don't have to feel it. When you're doing live streams, especially, I feel you sort of feel like you want to deliver value so that people watching it get an outcome at the end. So there's a little bit of pressure,
mhm,
but I try not to let that seep into my head too much, because then you don't enjoy what it is and in the moment. And part of doing art is being in the moment and not thinking ahead too much of what's going to happen, but enjoying, because that's where the benefit of doing art lives, is it's what's happening in that present moment. And it's so hard to be present, but art really is something that is there for anyone to instantly just drop into your own self, a quiet moment. And I try not to let concerns of non-freedom uh, enter my mind too much, so that I can stay in that carefree state. But I think that might be a uh, practice thing, like um, the more you do it, the better you get at it. That was a very long answer, I
yeah.
felt like, to a simple question, but there you go.
Well, I think there's a lot in that answer, and one thing I really love and I find comforting is the fact that sometimes you have those moments like, "Oh, how am I gonna get myself out of this mess?"
Mm.
And that some days you feel like you can't draw. I think that's very comforting. I think a lot of people would find that very, reassuring to hear. You sound like, you're explaining dipping into the flow state when you are talking about being present, and do you find it harder to be present and kinda get into that flow state with that freedom and like lose track of time and everything when you're live streaming, or are you always kind of watching the clock and making sure that it seems like whenever I do a live stream, I'm so aware of everyone that's like asking questions and what I'm doing and being in frame that it's hard to get into that flow state. But if I'm just like sitting on the couch
Yes.
painting or on the deck or whatever, it's much easier.
Oh, definitely. So for me, I go into that flow stream, and sometimes, and then I'm like, oh, sorry, I've realized I've stopped talking. So I've stopped talking to the people, and then I have to remind myself,
Yeah.
to check questions. But I think people get used to, uh, hopefully, to that. I do. It's in my experience, it's an uncommon thing for an artist to be able to talk through their process, and that's obviously what makes an art teacher. But I have been to many art workshops where the teacher just says, well, watch what I'm doing. And if you said, why did you pick that turquoise? They honestly couldn't tell you. It's such an intuitive thing. And of course you can still learn from that. It's a beautiful thing to witness and to watch. But I am one of those people that can talk about why I'm making, well, I try, colour choices, tool choices as I'm going. But if you do go into that flow state, I do stop talking and just doing, and people can be chatting away in the chat. I call them love streams. I love doing my live streams, and sometimes I used to try and think, well, I'll try and do a 15-minute live stream, just like snappy, and people can drop in, drop out, get on with their lives. But I've never managed to do anything like that, unless a snake's dropped through the roof, or an emergency's happened. I've had to suddenly go. Um, Sometimes they go on forever and ever and ever, it feels like, and then I check the time at the end, I'm like, oh, goodness. But if people are engaged and they're enjoying it, and they're probably doing other things as I'm going, I can only be grateful. And it sort of even though I can't see what other people are doing, very often they're talking about the art, they're doing art themselves, or wish they were at home doing their art. So it's a really nice feeling. So it's fun enough for me to keep going back to it. Although I find it
Yeah.
exhausting at the end of a live stream. Like
Yeah. I don't know what it is about kind of, well, you're kind of performing. I think that's what it is.
yeah,
You're kind of performing while you're creating, so it does take it out of you.
yeah, and
I used to always
yeah,
do these
sorry.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, you are
No, go ahead.
conscious of, you do want to create something that looks nice. And I just laugh at myself every time I do anything live where I do art on Instagram, because I'm trying to be quicker. I just find there's more pressure, the format's up and down. I I just always feel like, it's just not good enough. But when I'm on YouTube, I think I just have more time. It's only a mental thing. So I need to just relax. Something about Instagram must make me panic. And I loved doing my live streams on Facebook, but Facebook just would change buttons around and change how they were doing things. It felt like every time I went to do a live stream, and it just became too infuriating. And then I went back to using YouTube, which is just so much easier. I feel like I'm out in the wild on YouTube, whereas in Facebook, I'm in my group, or I know the people. And again, it's just a mental thing, because why would people watch it if it wasn't their cup of tea? So you just have to trust that you're going to attract nice people, your people, birds
Mhm.
of a feather flocking together. So I just imagine the people that I know enjoying themselves, and that I'm adding value to their day, be it just some happiness, some inspiration, hopefully some techniques, some ideas. And I discover things in live streams all the time. New colour combinations, the way art supplies work with each other, uh, something that I didn't know the art supply could do, that I didn't know was possible. And because I'm sort of feel like I'm out on that edge, on my peripheral, and out on on a boundary, and with my machete, but it's a paintbrush, and you just discover new things all the time. So it's a little bit addictive.
Mhm. I think you're onto something there because I've been in a situation where I've just kind of been puttering around in a sketchbook and it's not going that great and I just kind of like toss it to the side. But if you're doing that on a live stream, you've got to, power through and make it happen and turn it into something that's worth watching. So it is kind of like you're on the edge and it is exhilarating because then you got people that are like, "Oh, she's not going to fix that," or they're in the
Where are we
peanut
going
gallery,
with this?
talking about is she gonna fix that? Ooh, what's she doing with that?
Yeah.
It's like, what's that? Is that gonna that's not gonna work with that product. It's just it's kind of fun. Then you can even crowdsource some ideas. It's like, what do you guys think? Should I add this? Should I add that? And it becomes collaborative at that point. And that's the magic of YouTube, really. And the nice thing about YouTube over Facebook and Instagram is that there's more of like of an archive. I feel like your
Yes.
work doesn't just get flushed down the feed, never to be seen again. If somebody searches like the product you're using or your name or a specific subject matter, it can show up in, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And the search and the rediscoverability just isn't on the other platforms. So,
Yes. Yeah.
and people are
YouTube's
there to
amazing.
watch for a while.
Yeah.
They're there to hang out and watch. They'll put it on their TVs and, be watching like a television show rather than like watching on Instagram, waiting to swipe to the next thing or scroll on by, or the second they get bored, they're off to something else. I
Yes.
think people on YouTube are there for the relationship and to see how it turns out and to, have a deeper connection. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Yeah, the relationship. It's just that it's amazing how different each format is and how people behave differently, how we use
Mhm.
each different format. Yeah, I find that quite fascinating. I've got my little dog in front of me and he's giving me the cutest. I'm just patting him. And sorry, he was
Oh,
distracting me. So
oh, you should show him to the viewers
this
because
is
the ones watching on
popcorn.
YouTube can see the puppy. Oh,
He looks enormous, but he's very small.
it's very cute. Do you have his sketch on any of your products, or
Can I
is that
show you
another dog?
actually? Because I have it right here. I've just been to Japan, and I don't know when I'm going to get sick of saying I've just been to Japan. It was like for 3 months before. I'm just about to go to Japan, so I'm still in the euphoria stage of having been there. And before I went, this is it's called Goshuincho, and it's a it's a stamp temple book, and I think I've got the words around, but it's this accordion style kind of thing. And in Japan, when you go to different temples and shrines, a way of the temple or shrine earning money to support itself is by having amulets, things for prayers, things for wishes, and they'll actually have someone that can do calligraphy in your book. And
Wow.
you take that to each different shrine. They've got different stamps. Sometimes they have a free stamp as well, which will be usually a little bit more informal, might refer to something that shrine or temple is dedicated to. But it's a real, just adds something to the experience. So I got this book on my last trip. Just was a cute book that I found in a store, and the paper is washi paper, which isn't very good for mixed media. It's awful. But I prepped it before I went, and I did all live streams about it. I put like my watercolor gessos and gesso paint and just different things to prep those pages. And one of the preps, sorry, I'll get to my point. So long-winded, was I put in some stamps of uh, Poppy and Zorro, Popcorn and Zorro in
Aw.
here, which are stamps that I did with a company in the UK. And I put them there because it's just fun for me to, have them in my book. And I actually had them put on a coffee when I was in Japan last time. So to me, it's a feel good thing. But one of the temples we went to, or shrines, was actually dedicated to pets. So you could go there and make a prayer or a wish. So I just think of it as making a wish or setting an intention, because it's not my religion. I don't want to do the wrong thing. But yes, so they've got them on some of them, and it was just so fun how that turned up and wound its way into the experience. So this is why carrying a journal and pen or something is very important wherever you are, because you just never know what little experience that's going to add to your life.
Well, I see you mostly work in art journals. What is it about that format that speaks to you?
It's a book that opens and closes. So it's that feeling of, uh, oh, we're starting. Oh, we're finishing. So I think that appeals. I can also have, so next to me, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13 journals just there. Plus, speckled everywhere else, I've got more journals. So I have all of these different places that I can create art in. Now, that's not going to suit everyone. And there's been times in my life where I've just wanted one book to work in. But it's sort of, you used the word community before, and it's sort of, when I think of it, I've got a little journal community happening right here between me and the different books. It takes a lot longer to fill them all, and I work over and over pages. I used to love like getting through a book and finishing it and then starting another one. Now I'm going back into old journals and working through them again and really finding that very nutritious and fun.
Mm.
So it's that opening and closing. I can take it with me, and it also feels more private and personal. So, but I do still have my big easel there. I've just got it outside. But I haven't painted at large scale for ages, actually. And it's something that I do love to do. But maybe maybe I like having all the different things because maybe I get sick of working just on one thing. I don't know. I'm very much the type of person who goes where things intuitively attract me and feel good, and I just go in that direction. And because I want art is the thing that gives me so much happiness and joy. I don't want to do something that is going to be frustrating. Not that sometimes my journals I don't get frustrated, but yes, I just adore working in a journal. I don't even think really about other things. It's my only choice.
I love that you have so many going. I have in the same way with sketchbooks, and I've started making them now.
Oh,
And I started a challenge called the Sketchbook Floozy Challenge because I'm such a floozy. I can't commit to one sketchbook. I go get this one and
I
that one, and
love
I
that.
counted them up, and I had like 53 sketchbooks, and I think like 31 of them had like some stuff done in it already. So I started this the Sketchbook Floozy Challenge. So if
Love
I
that.
excuse me, if I took a photo to draw from, or I was out painting plein air, I'd take a photo of the scene and I'd post my painting and the photo, and I'd be like, "All right, floozies, you guys fill your sketchbooks too, because we build our communities online, and it's nice to encourage other people to have the same art supply addictions that we do and help them actually use it and not just collect them and save them for some
It,
rainy day that may never come."
it's not a museum. The art supplies love to be used. They love to have,
Mhm.
paint dripping down their sides and not be perfect and be empty and trashed. The more you can do that to them. I'm a stickler for organisation, but the art supplies themselves don't have to be pristine. But I have to be able to find
Mhm.
things because I've got so many colour choices, and when I'm working, sometimes it's exact colour that I need. I could mix it, but sometimes I know I've got it. And
Mhm.
I do a lot of swatching, and I really have a good catalogue memory of what I have in my collection. So, but I don't like not being able to find something quickly. So I'm not a hoarder because there's a technical thing with hoarding. If you can't find something within 5 minutes, you're a hoarder. But if you can find something, then you're not a hoarder. So this is why organisation's important.
Yeah, I have a 30-second rule because I jokingly call my supply room the room of hoard, and I just like have everything organized, but I can find anything. I can put my hands on anything within 30 seconds. So it's
Yes,
like if I get to the point where it's taking me minutes to find that one item, then it's time to like I call it doing the defrag, where I pull everything out of every single like category and I go through and if it's stuff that's not going to I can't use up before it goes bad, it gets donated to
great.
I actually donate to my library because my library will send it out to people that could use it, like teenagers and stuff that might not have access to the supplies. And yeah, that keeps the hoard under control. But I like to have the variety too. I think
Oh,
it's you got to
variety
have
is the
that good
spice of
balance.
life.
Enough of Yeah, you got to have enough variety to keep things interesting, but not so much that you're just overwhelmed when you walk into your space
Yeah.
and start to create.
And that's
Some
a really nice, having that art supply piece. It does feel good.
Mhm.
So I'm always wanting to add things. I'm having to move things around, but I'm just looking at my art supplies now. It just brings me joy. I know where everything is, and if I can't find something, I know someone's been in here. So,
Mm.
and they've taken something and not returned it. There are very strict rules. I've got a whole second set of everything on a table in a different part of my studio, so that when I have friends over or family and we do art, they can do whatever they want to that stuff. But you're not allowed to come and touch things, because when I'm live streaming, I need to be able to find the whatever it is that I'm looking for. Otherwise, it drives me
Mm.
crazy. So anyway, isn't it funny how we work
What
out what it is that makes us happy, and then we try and stick with it?
Absolutely. What percentage of the supplies that you use are your own designs, and what percentage would be like other commercially made products?
I'll say 100% are mine. I'm looking around for what I might use that's not, because I um always think I can improve things for myself. And I'm at that, I have the knowledge and the resources to be able to do that. So everything I have, I'm just looking to see, even my pencils, even like lead pencils, everything. All my white pens, and then I absolutely have always adored white paint pens. Or I've just created another set of they have 7 different nibs in them of different white paint pens. So I just have to over achieve. I needed more fine pens, so I've developed a refillable fine pen called Dr.
Oh,
Ink.
nice.
Oh, that's just, honestly, it's just the best pen I've ever used. And I still collect other stuff. Like when I was in Japan, I have a thing about inks. So I still, I've got an ink called Enlightened Red. Oh, and it's the red of the temple gates. Oh, it's an orange,
Mm.
really. And I was so excited. It's called Enlightened Red. It's all in Japanese, though, and we did Google Translate, and I was like, I have to have that. But I know that I won't use it. I've used it to show it, in a haul video, and then it will go in my collection. So I have my little collection of beautiful, I love vintage art supplies as well, little things that I've
Oh,
found.
yes.
But the stuff that I use is all mine. I'm trying to think, is there anything? Scissors. I haven't done scissors. So,
Ah.
but I have my Japanese scissors. I have to show them to you because you'll appreciate this. Look, I've got a little gem. These are from Japan. And they've got
Oh,
Mount Fuji in
wow.
there. So they're from
Neat.
a sword. They used to be sword makers in the samurai era. And then they transitioned to knives when that era finished. And there are companies that are still making knives today. I love a little bit of history. And those
Yeah.
scissors they're my ninja scissors. They're so good. But yes, so my scissors. Oh, and the spray, matte varnish. Um, I've got a version that I'm working on, but I use matte varnish, whatever brand I can get at the shops. But other than that, everything is mine. I think it'd be weird if it wasn't
Wow.
my own, but I've got so many of my own because I've got acrylic inks, watercolor. I've developed my own type of paint called layer cake. I've got my coloured pencils, and I've got all sorts of different tools that you can put, because the joy of ink is how versatile it is, because you can do so much with it. And even pigments, because making watercolour is it's like making your own sketchbook. You've got a different relationship. It's that no, we're not just building communities with our out with other humans. I feel like I'm building a community with my art supplies, and just having that closer relationship by having made a watercolor. It's just, I love it. It makes me enjoy using them even more. And why not have mermaid scale shaped
Love it.
watercolors? So obviously these things give me a lot of joy, and I love making them and doing the little. There's sometimes I don't feel like drawing. I want to do something a bit more like organising, that
Buttery.
sort of thing. Yeah, and well, like the defrag that you were talking. Is that the word you used? We
Yeah, yeah.
Because that would also be not just because you need it, like it actually needs to physically happen, but it would also be something to do with your mood, where you want to do something with your colours, with your supplies, but you might not be feeling creative. So
Hmm.
organising is just another way. It's another form of creativity, but it's just using a different part of the brain, perhaps. It's my math brain, which doesn't really come out that often in my creative sense, but in organising, I think it does.
Oh yeah. I couldn't believe how many fountain pens I had kicking around here. And I took them all out one day and just started seeing what I could put in them. And it was just so satisfying to have them all out, line them up in rainbow order and, see, oh, would this work? Will that work? Can I put this liquid watercolor in? It was a lot of fun. And it was so messy. And I didn't actually create any art, but it kind of scratched that same itch of just, playing with the supplies
And you're getting to
and
know the supplies. You're not getting to know the
yeah.
ink. You're getting to know that pen. Fountain pens are awesome.
Mm,
You're getting ink on your hands and realizing you'll survive that. Like getting inky and
yeah.
messy. Sometimes when people start off, they're a little bit like, I might get it on. And I think that's like a boundary that you cross as you're going along, where you um, getting that ink and paint in your hands is one, like you're sort of going into the next level of whatever this is, mixed media especially.
Mhm.
And then there's that thing where you cross the boundary and your perfectionism just evaporates away, and you are now open to more experimentation, and you can start to see your own style. That's another little threshold. Other people have been able to see your style for ages. We're the last people to see our own style. And that's sort of another little threshold that people go through. And I feel like my role is to just help people keep getting through these little thresholds and keep doing more and more art, because the more people we have doing art, I think the better off the whole world is. The world needs us as artists, as creative people, and we need, as human beings, we need to be doing something creative, or that part of you gets channeled into something else that might not be very helpful for you. So I really,
Mhm.
I just want people to do more art, and anything I can do to get that to happen, that is what I will continue doing for as long as I draw breath.
Is it Is it strange to like look through your Facebook group feed and social media and see so many people
Mm.
creating in your style, like students or fans or anything?
Because I create stamps and stencils and washi tapes and books, all encouraging people, that if they are going to be doing art that looks like mine, it's transitory. It's just a moment in time, and I really should. I love it because it's feeds that part of me where I think, wow, I'm helping that person. They're creating because there's something about my artwork or what I'm doing that's inspired them. So, and that's just part of a journey. And like I sort of said, I want people to continue on with that. So eventually my influence in that art will come out of it, out of their art, and they will, develop more and more their own thing, or they'll have other influences. But it doesn't worry me at all. I know it does worry some people, but no one can be you. Everyone, and I can't be someone else. You can only do you. And there's a difference. And as you're learning, you're trying on different shoes, and you're trying on, and you have to give people that grace, that time to learn and to be inspired and to just do more art, because that's the beautiful part of it all. Is the more you do, the better you get at it. So, and it's not even just the better you get at it, the more accepting you are of what it is that you're doing. So it's not even that you're getting to this perfect place. That'll never happen, but you will just enjoy that process and be far gentler with yourself, so you enjoy it more, because then we do the things we enjoy. So I want people to have that window open to themselves. That's a gift I can give other people. That's in my skill set, and I'm really thrilled with that. So no, it doesn't. If people are doing, have you done stamps or stencils for? I thought that you had. Yeah.
Well, I've done, I do stencils. I do sketchbook floozy stencils, which are to like grid out your sketchbook pages so you can kind of break up the page so it's not so intimidating. And I've done rubber stamps from different designers for like card making stamps and stuff. Not to the extent that you have, just kind of here and there, but yeah.
But how does that make you feel when you see your artwork being used in someone else's creative endeavors?
Well, I love it. I love it. And I love it when I see if people post on Instagram because they followed a tutorial, or because I mean I post thousands of tutorials online and I have online classes. So I would hope that they would do those projects, because that's why I'm putting it out there, so people will copy it and people will try it and
Yeah.
then learn the techniques and do their thing. Some people are very like gatekeepy though about their style, and it's like they'll do a video and show you how they paint and then be upset that somebody's trying it out.
Yeah,
So it's just kind
and
of weird. It's like, I'm
yeah,
putting it out there so people will learn.
I've been
Yeah.
in like a workshop, this is years and years ago, and the teacher, they did a big talk about what I'm showing you can't use, and I thought, why are we here? This is
Yeah.
I don't quite understand that, but I understand where that feeling comes from, because sometimes someone's worked for years to discover that particular thing. And that's what attracted me to mixed media. So I was doing photography, then I had a gallery. I was sort of morphing into painting. I was doing large scale paintings that I had in the gallery and that was selling. And I was just manically painting to keep up with the demand. And got a little bit burnt out by that. Did a just a local workshop that was called the 6 Keys of Creativity, or 7 Keys of Creativity. And the teacher she said, I'm going to bring in my art journal for you. And I was like, what? Your what? And then she brought in the next day to the little class an art journal, and honestly, it was like angels were. Oh, as she opened it, and I was like, "You're putting everything in one." Because I had sketchbooks, to-do lists,
Mhm.
visual diary, just everything in everything. But this was this sort of art form where it was all in one thing, and then I discovered that it was an online. People were sharing their discoveries, their mixed using all sorts of media, which was something that I was just stepping into. And I was just astounded with how people shared their knowledge, and
Mhm.
not gatekeeping, which is very, very in the fine arts, very much so, because people have worked on a style, and sometimes that's very, very tied up with the way that they're using an art supply or a technique. It can be very technique driven. So I understand that. But what I love about mixed media, about art journaling, is that it is so open, and people can't wait to share what it is that they found. And that's been this whole community that's sort of grown and grown and grown. And I think other communities are now have certainly taken that on board. But yes, that gatekeeping thing, when you run back into it, you're like, oh, okay, we're still doing that. Okay, well, you do you. That's not going to lead to your happiness. It's not going to save you from anything. So you may as well, but whatever brings people joy is what they should do. So if they get joy from gatekeeping, then that's great. And if you don't want to do that, then don't do that. Share what
Mhm.
it is that you're doing, because you're going to encourage other people. So I love saying to people and I love doing it myself, even though it's challenging, sketching out and about. Because when you people come over and have a look, And they're like, wow, in themselves, they're like, I would like to do that. Like, no one's ever rude. No one ever comes over and goes, ugh, or says anything. All people are in is awe that, wow, someone's standing there or sitting there or whatever and painting or drawing. And you would probably be inspiring other people to pick their pens, paper, or whatever back up and do that. So you just, anyway, I'm totally off topic. Totally got screwed. I can't even remember the original question there.
Well, that's all right because I've been skipping around on my questions. Oh, well, let's go back to art supplies. You have over 600 art supplies. Is that correct? That you have designed?
Yep. So in inks alone, because I had to count it up because I just released new inks. So a set of new inks called Skinny Dip inks, and they're all different face colors. So really inclusive, and anyway, I love them so much. But I did a little count up of how many inks I've created in my collections. 180 inks. That's not
Oh,
including
wow.
mermaid markers. So that's 180 colours. Then, of course, you can mix all of those.
Mm.
They all have different properties. Some are waterproof, some are semi-waterproof, some do gradation, blah, blah, blah. So I forgot what the question was. Sorry. How bad is that? I just started thinking of inks, started thinking of colours, and my mind just started going poof, 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 poof. So what was the...
Well, I was just wondering.
Oh, how many? Yes, so
Yeah.
180 colours are in just inks. So when I'd say there's over 600 art supplies, that's 600 sets. So a set
Wow.
might be 58 watercolours.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm always thinking of art supplies, but I'm not into stuff. It has to be like awesome or have a really particular application or use that I don't have yet, and that I think will really add value and make you want to create more art, because that's always my thing. How do I make people want to create more, sitting at home and or wherever they are, and do more art, because it's beneficial for the planet and we sorely need it. We need more creativity.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
because I think the artists in the families, in the communities, are linchpins, and I think artists are very important. Our role in society is very important, and we can create ripple effect. So I think in a broader sense, but also just for individual happiness, we need to do more art. So yes, the art supplies. So it's well over 600. It's well over
Wow.
600. I don't even want to count how many there are.
Are inks your favorite?
What depends. So inks, because they're so versatile, inks are definitely a favourite. But we also need the paper for them to go on, and every time you change something, it changes the art supply completely. So with an ink, I've got a watercolor paper, a paper I call Levitation, which is like a Tomo River, that realm of paper, translucent papers, vellums, other things. So, and I've done a tremendous amount. I've got a real thing about paper and finding the ultimate papers for different things, because art supplies do different things on different papers, and so it's like having every art supply there's a theory of multiplicity. So just that one color of ink can do all of these different things depending on how you use it, what tool you put it in. Like you were talking about fountain pens, dip pens, totally different. You think a fountain pen and dip pen might be, no, they're totally different creatures. The ink looks totally different. And then if you use those different things, put it in a water brush or spray it, mist it, put it on a different surface. So it can be I've got a Joyful gesso. It's an acrylic paint, but it is a gesso, so it's super matte, very receptive of every other art supply. I don't like to be bossed around by my art supplies. I want everything to work together. And I don't want people to have to think, oh, do I have to use this over that? Can oil not go with this? Can that? So I just take out all of that kind of nonsense from the art supplies. characteristics, and I just want everything to go together. So I do a lot of work in the background to make sure everything's harmonious and just going to give you, I want people to stay in that joy flow state. And it's not fair for an art supply to pull you out of that. I want the art supplies to put you
Yeah.
into that. So
Mhm.
yes, inks are a big favourite, but I've got a paint that I developed called Layer Cake it's so opaque. It gives me the joy of watercolour and gouache, but it's different. It's its own thing. But I'm crazy about just washi tape. I've got like washi tape sitting here in front of me. I haven't launched yet, that will be coming, and it gives me joy designing them. It gives me joy getting them created. It gives me even more joy using them. So I will just keep on creating whatever it is that I think I'm going to need for as long as I can. Every so often I think, wow, what else could I do? Surely there's been no stone left unturned. And then I think of something else that I need. And then that thing, I think, oh, okay. Well, if I need it, other people are going to need it. And then I just
Mhm.
trundle along in that direction and see what happens.
So do you keep all those products active in your shop, or do you have to weed some out, or do you let
It's
at some point, or
some,
have something comes along that's better and you replace an older product,
yeah,
or
there've
is it all
been
just there?
definitely there. If I've worked with other companies, sometimes that's a limited thing. And then I'll have something else that will replace it. And I feel like everyone on the planet must have that, surely. There couldn't be a person left that doesn't have it. So I'll just want to do something different for myself. I'm just trying to think of things that. And then there was a case, I had these beautiful crayons, a gel-based crayon called Colour Sticks. And they were part of a collection that all was inspired to look like makeup. It just was very quirky and really, really fun. And the whole thing was in Michael's. It was just, I couldn't believe that they picked up on it, because usually, it's quite, things have to be kind of serious. And this was really serious art supplies inside, but, in this fun uh, packaging and things. But the colour sticks, and they were wonderful, really, really fabulous, highly pigmented crayons. And the manufacturer actually had a fire. All the molds were lost, and that part of that business closed. So, and I needed those, gel-based super soft crayons. I need that in my collection. I need them for myself. So then I went on a journey to find someone else who could make me those. I found them. We worked on the formulas again, made them even better. They're not as cute. The packaging isn't as cute, I must say, as the other ones, but the product inside is just chef's kiss. So that was a replacement for an unusual reason. But yes, and eventually when I redo coloured pencils, the people that I work with can now, they've got a different type of machining where they can add colour to the whole pencil. It's a technical thing rather than just dipped ends, and I can't wait to redo those. The pencil itself inside will be exactly the same, but sometimes there might be a little cosmetic thing or a change, or I might find something that's better. But I love everything that I've done, basically. So I'm just looking around just to see if there are any other examples. But usually I just keep adding extra colours to things because they're fabulous.
Oh, nice. Well, we'll definitely have a link to your shop, so anyone who's curious can go check. But I think I feel like I need to do an enabler alert, because once you see all the beautiful things, you're going to want to place a very big order.
And we have free international shipping when it's our way of saying thank you for doing a bigger order.
Oh,
But having that, I've got different parts of what I do. I work with other companies, and those things are available in other stores. So, like in the really big stores, it has been sometimes, or independent craft stores. It just depends on who I'm working with and their network. And then there are things that I do under my own steam, and we call those the JDHQ exclusives because we call our warehouse HQ, like James Bond. And so the JDHQ exclusives, they have like the really quirky, odd things you just wouldn't find in an art shop. They're too, they're a niche thing. So, and they're the things I have the most fun with. So, yes, enabler alert, definitely. But remember, you don't have to get everything at once. You can just get things as you go. I've got live streams and the Facebook group, so you can see what it is. You can ask questions. And I've got videos on it. I try and do a video for every product to show you why it's created, how I'm using it. And then that might give you ideas on how you might be able to use it as well. So I have a lot of fun doing all of that.
Yeah, and you have a lot of great product demos and support there on your YouTube channel. And I think the nice thing about watching a live stream like that, because you're so technique based, it's not, I mean, it's obviously about the products because you design the products and they're very cute, but it's mostly technique based. So if someone is just sitting there, they're watching your live stream, they just met you online, they could pick up whatever they had and they could follow
Yeah.
along and then they could, try it with what they have. And then they might say like, oh, well, that one's creamier. I think I would like that. Or, oh, this works fine. I'll just stick with this. The techniques don't go bad. The techniques will work with so many things. And then they can kind of pick and choose what Jane Davenport thing would work well with what they already have to magnify the use of the things they already have. So, I mean, I think the education is a huge part, and I love that it's so inclusive to everybody that has an internet connection.
Yes, and having that, like I've got that Facebook group, being able to see how people are using it in different ways. I love it so much because I find that inspiring. It's just this nice little feedback loop where,
Mhm.
I can see people at all different stages of their art journey where they've just started and they're just so excited about everything that they can do and opening doors that they thought weren't open to them. And there they are, creating, enjoying colour, using the different things in a way maybe that I hadn't even thought of before. So it's isn't it nice to be surprised? A nice surprise, not a bad
Oh,
surprise.
absolutely. Yeah. No letters from the IRS. That's a bad
No, no,
surprise.
no, we don't want any bad surprises, just nice surprises.
Yeah. You're an art educator, and we've talked about um, teaching on YouTube and Facebook. We've talked about, well, actually, we haven't talked about your online classes, and you also teach in books, instructional books. What's your favorite method for teaching?
Oh, a live stream because there's no editing videos.
Yeah.
I haven't. I used to do lots more online classes, and it's just simply the editing and of them. It just takes so long. Are you? I just find it takes so long to edit something, and even though I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and especially an online workshop, uh, when I'm doing a live stream, whatever happens, happens. It's all very free flowing. When I'm working on a workshop, I am working out all the little nitty gritties. I've got outcomes that I'm trying to achieve for people because people are paying for that. So it needs
Mhm.
to be really valuable. So I really put a huge amount of effort into it. I try and make it all themed. So I'm giving you the vegetables, but it all looks like lollies and candy and delicious. So I love working with a theme. Like I did one that was based on something that I'm very interested in, which is ancient Greek gods and monsters. And working on how it was like an ink workshop really, and using references because you've got all of those beautiful sculptures and amazing references that have been left in the ground for us to now excavate and see. And so that's what the workshop was about, but it was really the fun of it is in the themes and the Greeks, the gods of the month, like what they get up to and that gives you, you've got the inspirational part. So, but the editing is extreme, and the same with books. So I love coming up with the artwork and doing the artwork and working out something that will help people. That is the easy part for me, and the fun part. It's then writing about it. Oh my goodness. Talking about it, easy. Writing about something, I mean, that isn't, I love the way I write and where I get to eventually, but it's real effort, takes a lot of time. So if I'm working on a book, that is 3 to 4 months where I cannot do anything else. And for me, that loves distraction, loves to work on lots of different things at once, it's almost an agony to have to do that, and that's why I haven't done a book for so long. Also, those things where I have to sit for ages and ages, I hurt my back, and it was because I'd done so much sitting to do my art and do editing books. I did like 3 books, one after the other, and loved that opportunity and being able to, like, the end result. But I destroyed a disc in my back, and I've still got nerve damage down one leg just from sitting. So just if I can encourage people to do one thing, get up and walk more
Mhm.
often than you think you need to, because I get so engrossed in what I'm doing. I'm just, and then you get up, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm frozen. But your back needs to move, it needs to walk around. So,
I have a towel at the back of my chair because I was doing so much colored pencil lately for a colored pencil workshop that I'm working on. And I've never had sciatica in my life. And last week I felt like I have sciatica. I have this pain in my butt, like a
it
literal
hurts.
pain in my butt,
Yeah.
and it's going down my leg. And so like in my workshop, I have recorded telling people like if you feel that pain between your shoulder blades, move around. I have everything broken down into like 20-minute chunks. It's like when that video is done, get up, move around, take a walk,
Yeah,
stretch in your chair.
I've got timers on things like on my computer, and I scream at it sometimes, like, leave me alone, stop nagging me. But you have to get up off your butt. And it doesn't matter if you
Mhm.
do it all day and then think, oh, I'll just have a long walk at the end of the day. It doesn't work like that. You've got to keep the backs love variety. That's what my PT
Mhm.
tells me, who's helping with my back. So when that happened, I just changed the way I work on things. And one of the changes is I can't sit and do my editing, which is books, videos. And then I've just stepped into art supplies more. But that was also like linked into COVID, and because I've got a big warehouse and it's beautiful, and it's got all glass at one side at the back end, and you can see koalas in the trees if they are there for a warehouse.
Aw,
Very nice. Lots of light.
aw.
And so the whole top floor was for workshops, doing live in-person workshops. And then COVID happened, and well, I mean, that went on forever. And then, so I just started doing more and more of my own art supplies, creating more and more. So now it's like a breakout. It's very, very attractive little breakout room. But the workshop space is completely taken over with art supplies. So I just, not only do I follow my intuition within my artwork, sort of as a little bit of a life mantra. And when I think about it, I do it all the time. So that's just how I walk my way through the world, is following my intuition. I'm one of these people that it's almost agony if I have to do something I don't want to do. I can do it, but
Mhm.
my core of my being is up in arms about it. So as you get older, you get better at engineering things so that you are doing things that um, that inspire you and bring you joy more. Because you don't have to say yes to
Mhm.
every opportunity. You can be more selective because you know what it is that you like. But there's no point if me saying to young artists, do that, because you don't know what you like. That's part of life, is discovering not only what it is that brings you joy, but also what you're good at. That feeds into it as well, and those things change over time too. So Anyway,
Yeah, it's what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what you can make a living at, and if those things kinda
yes,
converge, then you're really in a lucky situation
yes,
and lean into it. I know whenever I have started a project or I've like taken a freelance assignment or something, and it's like as soon as I could have been like uninspired, can't think of anything I want to do, and then as soon as I've got my time committed, I think of like 20 different things I'd rather be doing. So it's kind of like I feel like I need a little bit of guardrails. Like I need to know I have these deadlines coming up for different things because then every little moment is precious. And I started doing the Plain April challenge like beginning of April. And I'm like, how am I going to fit this in? I'm working on a class, I'm doing my regular YouTube schedule. And then it's like, oh, when I drink my coffee in the morning, I'm just like scrolling on my phone when I drink my coffee in the morning. So I put my sketchbook down where I sit with my coffee and I started drawing instead of scrolling on my phone. And you fit things in. It's like if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it and they will fit
totally.
it in.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I've always, that's always been me. And yeah, when I'm not busy, I feel a little bit lost, and I get too relaxed, and you have to hustle in life. Um, but it has to be a good, as you learn what it is that you like doing and all of that, the hustle is good. Being busy is
Mhm.
great, and as long as you're doing stuff that you get joy in or have a joyful outcome or allows you to um, do the things you enjoy. That's why like a hobby is just so important. A lot of people don't even leave time for their hobby. I suppose social media has become a lot of our hobbies, and it's very, very tempting to let that happen. And because everyone's doing it, it's totally socially acceptable to be sitting somewhere and scrolling rather than doing whatever it is, gardening or cooking or, like fun type of cooking or
Mhm.
whatever other hobbies are. For me, it is art journaling, sketching.
Mhm.
So it's important to, and as artistic people, we can uh, inspire other people by doing it. Like you were saying, doing that while you're doing your coffee. Well, I'm going to start doing that. That's fantastic.
Oh, I inspired Jane Davenport. That's like gonna be the highlight of my week.
Well, why not? Like, why? Because it's just, yeah, it is wasted time. Although, I do enjoy. It's very funny. Instagram, these things that happen, and I do love seeing animals and things on it. So a little bit, but yeah, we don't want to be doom
Inten
scrolling.
yeah. No, intentionality, I think, is the key. As long as you're doing it intentionally, like I'm gonna sit here for and sometimes I'll be like, I just want to drink a cup of tea and waste 20 minutes scrolling through whatever. But I'm doing it intentionally. Or if I go online, say I'm going online because I need to find a low fat brownie recipe, or I want to figure out what to do with this can of chickpeas I have, with an intention and not just get whisked down some rabbit hole where I'm going to read some random article that is not going to improve my life or make me feel better about the state of the world.
Yes.
Just I think because the phone is so ubiquitous, and it's so frictionless to just pick it up and check and be entertained where if you're going to make art to be entertained, it's work. You got to get your supplies out. You got to, maybe throw on a smock or, unless you have your stuff where it is frictionless, like leaving your sketchbook by your couch or someplace where you can grab it. And it's just as easy to grab that and a pen as it is to grab your phone. Have some little reference materials tucked into the sketchbook or just something to remove the friction. I think of like, how does Amazon make us spend so much money? They take the friction away. How does
Yes.
Facebook get our attention? It takes the friction away. It's so easy just to do that, even though we don't want to do it as much as we want to do art or cook or garden or whatever your hobby is, because it's easy. We just tend to do it. So make the things we love easier and we'll do that more,
Yep,
I
I
think.
love it. Yeah, so I've got my little arts. I always have something in my bag, like a little tiny, even just a piece of paper. And I've got these new super fine pens called Pixel pens. Mm. So I had those when I was just traveling, and you can just pull them out, do a little bit of something. I always feel so good. Like I feel almost virtuous if I've
Yeah.
rather than just like walk through something like this was with tourism, you get into a little bit of a zombie state, like because you get used to looking at all these amazing things, like oh yeah, amazing, oh yeah, amazing, amazing, amazing. And, there's only so many photos that you're never going to look at again that you can take. But
Mhm.
if you stop and do a little bit of a sketch, even though it might feel uncomfortable, uh, because you're so hyper aware, um,
Mhm.
I just find I remember those moments. I can remember every time I sat and sketch, and I love sketching when I'm
Mhm.
watching television. I miss if it's a
Mhm.
subtitled movie. It drives my husband crazy because so often I'm like, wait, what? Did something important just happen? What happened? Because if they're just talking and I can sort of be like sketching and this
Yeah.
and then I can keep a hold of it. But if there's subtitles involved and I've really, wait, what? Oh, we have to go back. He's very patient. He never says anything, but surely it's annoying. But I can concentrate better if I'm drawing. When I was at school, I had, I don't know if it's a condition or whatever, but I had permission from from teachers to draw in class because, and I'm not taking notes, I was drawing, I was doodling, and it must be so annoying for teachers, but I'm hyper focused. If I can be drawing and sketching and doodling while you're talking, I can remember the whole conversation. But
Mhm.
if I have to just sit there and listen, I'm thinking about what I would like to be drawing, I think. I see the problem. So anyway.
I will look back at some paintings or sketches and I'll be like, "Oh, I remember what audiobook I was listening to when I drew that," or "I remember what movie was on when I drew that." So I totally get that. It's like locks it in your brain really good when
Yeah,
you
can do.
combine like the yeah, yeah.
Equally,
I'm excited. I'm going to
I look at some of my art and think I have no recollection of doing that at all. None.
same. Yes.
None. And people say, when was that? What have you used? And I'm having to look at it and be like, well, hmm, I have no idea. Well, it must be, skinny dip ink in tan fastic because that's the colour of it. But I don't remember doing it. Like I,
Mhm.
yes, I find that quite fascinating. That I don't remember it at all. Sort of, maybe that's that flow state where you go into autopilot and your brain's having a nice little float around within the colour. And sometimes it's all hyper
Mhm.
focused. So I'm glad for both. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm excited because I'm going to France in a couple of weeks to teach a watercolor workshop. So I cannot wait just to look around and be able to draw like the old
Oh,
buildings and draw out the gardens and
whereabouts in France are
yeah,
you going?
it's south of France near Toulouse. We'll fly
Oh,
into
how
Toulouse and
divine.
Albi in that area. I
Divine.
can't wait. The weather should be good. I'm so sick of winter. It's been like oh, we have such a long winter in Maine. It's like 6 months long. So I'll be so excited to go to this summery place for
Are
and then
you
when we get back to Maine, it
doing
will be
Paris?
beautiful.
Are you doing Paris at all?
No, we're
Not
not
this
doing
trip.
Paris. Not this trip, but I'm excited.
If at any point you get to, if it's an opportunity, Monet's garden.
Mm,
It's not far from Paris. So if you're in Monet's garden, I've been there when I was doing workshops, and I've just been there as just tourist on my own. It's just you can go on a train, you can hire a bike and ride there, and there are companies that do little day trips, and it's just because he was an artist and his grave is there, the church he went to, his
wow.
house. It's just there's something. It's just something very, very magic. So if the opportunity ever
Mm,
arises, try and
I will definitely keep that in
yeah,
mind.
sneak a day. You would
Yeah.
love it. Take your watercolors. You as a person, you would be electrified. You would just be so happy doing some watercolors, sitting there in the garden, knowing that's where one of the greatest artists to ever live created and enjoyed himself so much. It's very cool.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I just think it's going to be great to go to a place where the country is so much older, and the buildings are so much older and just because I've never been to Europe, so this would be my first trip to
Oh,
Europe. So
wow. So, and Toulouse
I'm
is
very
where
excited.
Toulouse-Lautrec came from. I
Mm,
don't know if there's a
yeah.
Toulouse-Lautrec museum there, but
Yes, there is. We're going to that.
of
That's one of the trips we're going to take.
yeah, he is one of my absolute favourite artists. there's artwork of his that feels like if I turn and snap back quickly, I'll see the people moving. He's got that carefree style, and when I think about,
Mm.
I'm not comparing myself to him at all, but there's a commonality of his work is very loose and very free and very imperfect, and it's you feel like the people are moving their way through. You've just captured a moment, and I feel like if I turn away and pretend I'm not looking, and if I snap back, I'll catch them moving before they freeze, like Night in the Museum. So I'm very excited for you.
Thank you. I am too. Oh my goodness, it's been over an hour. Do you have any new projects you'd like to share with everybody?
Well, I'm always working on new things. I'm always working on new art supplies. So, uh, what's and I love coming up with crazy names and stories for them. So I'm just going to share this. I've got a set of watercolors, and it's a not a beginner quality, but it's a beginner set of watercolors. There's
Oh,
66 colors in there. Look
oh,
at the
that's
colors.
pretty.
And so this is so, because you can mix any color, as you know. But that's a whole learning curve of itself. And what I'm trying to do is just have people, they don't like, people get a bit scared of mixing their own colors. Are they doing it right? Are there rules, etc.? So that's why I've just done the whole thing. The name of it, and I've stripped the box down, so it's a super light box. It's a smaller pan. There's no pressure. It's just fun and beautiful colours that you can just dip into, and they do exactly what you think you're going to do. You don't need to be a watercolour expert. Then you can fall in love with watercolour, and you can become a watercolour expert later on. But the whole point of me telling you this is the name of this is Huephoria. And then the
Oh,
names
nice.
of all the colours are puns, are colour puns. And I can't even, like I said about ages ago about naming colours. So one of my favourite names in this is Blue Tea Pageant. It's a blue, of course.
I love it.
So yes, I love being a little bit silly, even though the supplies are serious. We can have fun with the gorgeousness, and then this is going into a whole series of other watercolors that have the color pun thing as part of their name. So I love it when I've can have fun with the naming of things and the theming and turning things into a collection. So I mean, there's always collections coming up that I'm working on. My mind thinks in collections, in bubbles, in this goes with this. How can I make it easier? How can I make it more fun? What are people going to need? How are they going to store it? Because these are all the questions I need answered for myself. So really, I'm just very selfish and just thinking of my own needs all the time. And then luckily there are enough people that also have the same needs that I do. So it's all very fun.
Yeah, the whole collection and the names, they remind me of like the articles that would be in the fashion magazine. So you have like a collection, like you have a collection of a
Yes.
spring collection or a fall collection, and I love the license to quill pen. Do you
Oh
remember that one?
yes, of
Do you
course.
still sell that? I
Yes.
still use mine. It's because it still has ink in it.
Yeah.
It still has ink in it.
It's one
Um,
of the
but
best pens ever. It's that ink formula with that nib. So it could have just been in a plain old black barrel. And I'll show you the pen we're talking about. It could have just been a plain old black barrel,
so
but
cute.
it's in like an old quill pen. I bought a vintage book when I was in Paris, and I hope you're going to some markets, little flea markets or something when you're there. You have to search them out because you'll find, because, there's people are moving in, they don't need all their old stuff, so they're selling it off and it's quite cheap, like vintage books, that sort of thing. So it was someone's diary from 140 years ago, and inside it was their quill pen, their feathers, and they just must have
Oh
tucked it in
wow.
as a bookmark. But opening it and finding the sharpened feather, the quill, oh my gosh, it just makes just one of my favourite objects I've ever found. Anyway, so that was the license to quilt. Also, I'm a bit of a James Bond, and I love a pun. So
Yeah.
it could have just been a normal old barrel, but why? Why not have it
Why?
so it looks fabulous? It makes you want to use it more. So
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have a knack for naming, and I'm so glad that you proved your guidance counselor wrong and color naming is a real job.
it is a real job, and I'm a real boy. I'm a real girl, and it's a real job. But yes, I just, yeah, like you said, I have created, yeah, this existence, strange as it is. And I have a lot of fun with it. It's not all flowers and sunshine. You know, I actually have to work. It is work. But at least,
Mm.
see, like my dad always worked from home, always had a home office, and they were in the fashion industry, but my dad did, you know, like the leasing and the accounting and all that sort of backbone of the business, and that was all run from a home office, and you know, it was great for us because you know our dad was there when we were home, and but you know he had his workspace, and I love being able to work from home myself and I've got my own space, I have my studio. I love it that my husband, we also have the warehouse, so he has that, he's in control of all of that, but he also has his home office. So just, it's just nice to have created, that's an intentional creation. His parents work the same way. They were in real estate, but they work together. So they have their own spaces, but you have that common cause. You're both working towards this, you know, your goals together. So being able to even have created this space, my art studio that's out in the trees, out in the garden, you know, I've occasionally might see a koala or an echidna, a snake or two, not so welcome, but it's, yes, this, it's not something I decided on at the beginning, but it's just following these intuitive step by step by step and allowing things to happen. And if I could go back and tell myself, don't worry about, you know, this or that, it probably it would take the hustle out of you because you've got to keep uh, hustling along. You know, if you knew that what was going to happen was going to happen, might stop you from doing what was going to make it happen. You can't go back in time, can you?
Yeah, that's true. Very wise words. Are you doing any workshops at the your warehouse, or did you fill the workshop room and
No, no, I haven't done any live in-person things. I get asked all the time, and I really should. I find when I'm teaching, and I used to do ones overseas, like you're about to do, and I am almost in a state of panic the whole time. I never show that. Well, I try not to. I'm trying to stay calm and myself, but I'm really trying to get outcomes for people. I really want people to enjoy themselves, but I really want them to learn and really get their value from having done it. So I'm exhausted. And of course, people are on holiday. If I'm on a workshop, I'm on a holiday, people might be having a few drinks at night. Well, I can't do that. Um, I'm I'm working. So for me, doing an overseas art retreat is not a holiday at all. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So I haven't tended to put myself into that state of for quite a while now. I've gotten used to not doing it, I think, but I'm happy doing it on live streams for now. And yes, I don't have that that live workshop itch at the moment. That might change. Things change very quickly for me, and if I make a decision to do something different, I just go off in that direction. If it feels good, then off I go. But you're going to
follow
have a
your
marvelous,
intuition? Your intuition.
yeah. Follow your intuition. Follow your happiness. Follow that intuition, and yes, do lots of art. These are
Yes,
good.
absolutely. And I love that you follow your intuition, but you also talk about the hustle and you have the discipline to make sure that that you stick to it and you don't, if your intuition is to go take a nap, I mean, you're not just taking a nap every day. You're making sure that the things you really want to get done, the goals you have and what you want to get out of life
Yes. So
is happening.
picked up a little art book from Neil Gaiman, who's a fabulous author and does graphic novels. And he did Gods of America and American Gods. Well, I think it's American Gods, actually. And lots of other amazing books. And he had this cute little, very, very short book about being an artist and the nitty gritty of it. And one of the things is you can't be late. You have to, if you're going to take on work, it has to be on time, it has to be amazing, and you have to be easy to work with. You can lose one of those things, but only one. And people will forgive it because your work is either so fantastic and you delivered it on time. But you have to you really have to under promise and over deliver when you're like taking on commissions, don't you feel? And anyway, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it, and I'm just make sure that I do it. If I'm working with other people, it was just, this is why I love live streaming, because it's free. So I don't have those. I don't have those boundaries. So I sort of do live streaming when I feel like it. If I run a bit late, oh well, it's sort of up to me. So it's a part of the other. It fits in with my life. So I'm just happy that people accept that, and it's just part of the fun of me, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful, and I think that you've really carved a nice niche and a nice life for yourself, and you've taken us all along for the ride. So, who could complain at that? And it's free.
Yeah, that is right. Little Poppy is looking at me. Here he is.
Well, where should people find you if they're looking to see the Jane Davenport magic online?
That's a chick. Just janedavenport.com. I'm Jane Davenport on YouTube. I'm Jane Davenport on Facebook. I'm Jane Davenport on Instagram. Instagram drives me crazy having to post, but it's such a lovely little blogging tool. And I like looking at other things on there. So yes, but I'm Jane Davenport on those things. As you would have said 1,000 trillion times, subscribing to the channel, because then you get those live notifications. And because I don't really follow a schedule, I need to take a leaf out of your book and need to be more organised. But my free spiritness does come out in my scheduling for my live stream, my love streams. But yes, yeah, just Jane Davenport. And the website's got videos on it, the blog, the art supplies, the online workshops, inspirationally things, colour. Just even if you don't get anything, it's just a nice place to visit. Yeah, so
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us this evening or morning for you. This has been such a treat for me, and it's been wonderful to learn more about you and hang out and chat for an hour and a
well,
half.
it's just wonderful because what you do for people is amazing, and you've been doing it for years. You always are gorgeous, and you have that generous, kind, happy spirit. That's your brand, is probably not the right word, but everyone always speaks so highly of you and has such respect for
Oh,
you, including me. You're just it's not so much a breath of fresh air. You are the air. You are, yeah, what you do on a daily basis for so many people, bringing people to their art, making people approach things and look at how they can increase the amount of art they do in their lives. We're birds of a feather, you and I, and it's a privilege to be able to do that. And you do it to such a high degree. I have a lot of admiration for you. You're a wonderful person. Don't ever forget it. Not that you would.
Oh, oh, thank you so much. I want to say ditto. I don't have anything that poetic to say, but I feel the same way about you, Jane, and I
Oh, thank
just
you.
appreciate so much that you joined me today because I feel like I'm kind of like asking the popular girl to come over after school.
Ridiculous, but well, that's nice. No, I just do what I do. I just try and it makes me very happy that I get to do it. And isn't it marvelous? There's so many nice people that do what we do. And more people. There's room for people to keep doing that because the world really needs us, Lindsay. They need us. They need to do their art, and whatever we can do to encourage people, and to actually use their art supplies, and you just get stuck in colour, even if it's swatching or reorganising, whatever. Just to actually get out there and do it and enjoy it, and let their families see them doing that part of their lives. That'll echo down the generations as well. So it's very important what we're
Yeah,
doing, as well as
I
fun.
agree. Well, Well, thank you so much for hanging out. I want to thank all the listeners for checking out this podcast. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player, hop on over to YouTube if you want to see our smiling faces and see Jane's very adorable doggy who
Yeah.
made a few cameo appearances. We'd love to have you here. All of the notes that we mentioned, all of the websites and resources, we will have in the video description and show notes for you to check out. And I appreciate you spending some time of your afternoon with us today. And as always, thanks for watching and happy crafting. Bye
Bye.
bye.